from Terrain Direct. Welcome back to another Terrain Direct video. In this series it's all about the Necroplaza that I'm building. This is going to be a long series of videos, so this is definitely a video to watch if you've not seen one before. The first video has been just a brief introduction on what I'm going to be doing. This is the second video, and in this video I'm going to do I have done a voiceover of what I've actually been doing. I've actually been making, if I can find one here, foam core bulkheads for my project. So basically we'll be going about how I got these, how to make them. It's very simple. It's a very simple technique, but a little bit time consuming. I'm needing quite a lot of these for the project that I'm actually doing, because this set of buildings is going to pose quite a challenge, and it's going to be quite time consuming because it's going to be more than just one building. There's going to be a whole series set of buildings for this project. Okay, so we'll go to the video of me actually building making the actual bulkheads out of the foam core. Like I said, I've done a voiceover of this one and not an actual running commentary through the video, because it was really tricky with the knife to actually get all into these parts. So I thought if I could just show you what I did, just a brief showing you what I did, and so you get the general idea on how my buildings are all going to come together in the end. So I hope you enjoy this, and thanks for watching.
Which I cut out of 6mm ply, and as you can see I marked it out with a marker pen and then went back and just roughly cut out what I needed to cut. And here we have another one of my templates which I've created with a 4-inch hole cut out of the middle using a 4-inch hole cutter, and sanding around and sanding the edges to give me a nice straight line for when I'm going to draw the template. So putting that one aside, the next template here is a hexagon, and I have octagon, sorry, and I've cut out a 3-inch hole inside this with a hole saw, and again sanded the sides. I've also numbered each one of the edges, because just in case they varied in size, which they actually did do further on. So here we have one of the foam core pieces actually cut out, and as you see, as I line them up with the different edges, they don't actually quite line up for some reason. I'm not sure the reason why or how that happened. So what I actually did is on each one of the foam core is I actually put in the numbers 1 through 8. That allowed me easier access to work out exactly which side belongs to which side, basically. And there you see, once it's lined up, it fits absolutely perfect. So, on to the next piece, which is the bulkhead once again. To get a better template, I then cut from a thick piece of card and cleaned up all the edges and smoothed it all off, giving me a lot straighter lines and basically a cleaner template. This is the right way to go if you're going to be mass producing these sort of bulkheads. This is the second bulkhead design, also cut from the thick card. And as you can see, once I've cut it from the actual foam core, it lines up pretty much exact with the master. This can be quite time consuming when cutting, and you need an extremely sharp knife whilst doing this to keep the edges clean. Again, I'm going to be using some of these as multi-purpose, so there'll be a couple of them stacked on top of each other, and this will be explained later on in the video how I go to achieve this actual look. And as you can see there's one that I've actually pre-made and tested, and I've actually cut out the slots inside the actual foam core to allow that to actually just slip straight inside. So once it's been glued, it will create an effect of multiple bulkheads on top of one another whilst actually holding the platform in place. As you can see, it's recessed into the side, and there will be 4 support legs holding this platform up, giving me basically 3 tiers for that building. This one, however, I still haven't figured out what I'm going to be doing with this, whether it's going to go on the edge or the side, but whichever way I decide to do it, it will actually fit. There you go, either side or the edge, given no overlap at those 2 edges, but a little bit of an overlap from the base. As you can see, I can have it as a 2 or a 3, or if I use one of the standalone bulkheads, as I can actually have it just as a 1, or a thought that I might have is to create a different platform above it to give me a multi-platformed building on this one. It's quite universal the way that I've actually done these, so I can pretty much put whatever I want into whichever one I do want. Now, I'm going to show you how to actually make the bulkheads, and here we go. First of all, you need to draw around the template. That's quite self-explanatory, and this is the reason why I wasn't actually talking during this video and I decided to do the voiceover, as it is quite tricky to actually stay focused on the actual drawing and the actual cutting. My first attempt at this video is I had wonky lines all over the place and quite a few miscuts. As you can see, it's just a very thin pen and just marking it out. To keep lifting off, if you lift it off and keep putting it back, it's very easy to get it to the exact same spot. These edges, however, need to be completely straight for this sort of building. If it's not, you could end up with basically wonky bulkheads. And this is how I achieve the recess, is actually get another piece of foam core, put it beside the line, and then mark behind it, and I make a little mark just to see, then I go for the full mark to make sure that I've got it right. It's always best to measure twice, cut once. This one's actually the 2-tiered bulkhead that I'm creating here. So, and I always go back over my line to make sure I've got a completely straight line. Once that's done, I join the 2 together to give me a uniformed look. Now with the second bulkhead design. I put that over the recess and basically just trace around that template as well. This is actually, once you've actually built your templates, this is a really quick process to actually draw. It's a little bit more time consuming on the cutting, but the actual prep work for drawing them out onto the foam core is really quick. And as I say, I'm planning on mass producing these for my building, so there'll be quite a lot of these. As you see at this point, I've actually left one side without a line. That's so I can get the two bulkheads lined up perfectly, as I think the two templates actually differ in size by about 2mm. And if you're doing like the 3-tiered design, what you'll get is by the top you're going to be 6mm out. Taking the sharp knife now, cutting through just the first layer of the card and not all the way through the foam. I always go extremely slow. I actually go freehand because I've already done quite a lot of these, so I'm actually getting pretty straight lines doing it freehand, but feel free to use a metal ruler if need be. This is just a demonstration using one of the throwaway knives. These are actually around about 50p to buy and are just as good. They do get blunt extremely quickly though. This was actually a brand new knife, and after about 10 of these, after doing about 10 cuttings of these bulkheads, that knife was actually blunt, absolutely blunt. Probably about as blunt as a spoon. And the one thing that you don't want is a blunt knife while cutting this, because it snags the foam core inside. I never ever try to cut the foam core in one foul swoop. I always go over just the top skin, just pierce the top skin, and then I'll make a couple more passes with the knife to give me a clean cut. And there we go, a nice clean cut. Now we're getting to the sort of look that I'm actually wanting, and you can actually pretty much see exactly now how the two-tiered bulkhead is, how it all comes together. Cutting the recess, this is really easy. Again, just piercing the first layer of card. Again, I'm doing this freehand, but you can use a metal ruler if you need to. And just remember, just cutting through the first layer of card. You don't want to pierce the back edge of this card, else obviously the bulkhead will just collapse, and then you'll have two single bulkheads rather than one. After that's done, I just make a couple of light passes through the foam, but not into the back skin of the card. These passes are extremely light with the knife. And I'll check, and there's none. What I actually want to do on one side is just slightly score the card, so I can bend it one way without actually splitting the card or making a crease. If you see here, you can just see the score. That's so when I bend it over, and I've obviously taken my time bending it over here, making sure I don't and now you see I'm actually just trimming the foam, and what will happen after just a couple of very light passes, that little piece there will just pop out. You can see it already just ready to pop, and third and final time, pop, there we go, it's away. So that's the recess, and it's a really good idea just to test this at this point with another bulkhead that you've made, or a piece of foam core if this is your first one, and just slot it in there to make sure it fits. Last but not least is the really tricky part, and that's actually cutting out all the middle parts of the bulkhead. Again, with a sharp knife, pierce the top layer of the foam and just gently cut out the top layer of the bulkhead. What I tend to do is work on one at a time, so holding my knife always straight, and you'll see at some points where I'll actually hold my knife actually completely horizontal, so just like that, so the two cuts actually meet each other in a straight line, else you could end up with like a diagonal feel in the actual foam. So the back side will be slightly raised more than the front side, and this is the whole reason why I wasn't actually speaking through the actual video, because the knife was so close to my fingers. As you can see, I use a sawing motion when cutting right through the back of the card, always trying to keep the knife as straight as possible, and also going in from both directions to make sure the cuts meet each other properly. And with just another couple more cuts, that first part will pop out, and we have the first part of the bulkhead ready. So I hope this video you found it useful. If you wish, leave a comment below, and there's a few more of these videos to come in the future. So thanks for watching, and happy wargaming.